Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2023 United States Grand Prix, the first of 5 races in 6 weeks. It's going to get busy and the start of another triple header. And yes, it is also another sprint weekend, the penultimate one of the year though, with one more still to come in Brazil. As always, lots to get through, so I'm just going to jump straight into the preview, starting as ever with a look at the track and all the usual stats that follow. So last time out, F1 was in Qatar for the, Qatar Grand Prix, obviously, where Max Verstappen took another race win, and of course, where Oscar Piastri won the sprint race, his first F1 win of any kind. But now it is on to Austin in Texas for the 18th race of the season. A lap of the Circuit of the Americas is 5.513 kilometers long, or 3.426 miles if you prefer, and is made up of 20 corners with a race lap record of a 1:36.169 set by Charles Leclerc in 2019. And come Sunday, we are set to see a 56-lap race. The sprint on Saturday, by the way, will run for 19 laps. We've got 2 DRS zones for this one, with the first running down that long straight between turns 11 and 12, and the second, as you'd expect, is down the start-finish straight. So you can expect to see most overtaking action into turns 1 and 12, but there are opportunities elsewhere, including into turn 11, as well as through that middle sector. I really do enjoy watching late dive bombs into turn 15, I must admit. Look, this is one of my favourite tracks on the calendar, a track I think is a little bit underrated at times. It's got that unique first corner which has multiple lines, especially at the start, a fast sweeping first sector that took inspiration from Maggots and Beckett's at Silverstone, the replica of Istanbul's brilliant turn 8, and that tight and twisty middle section inspired by Hockenheim is in total contrast to the rest of the circuit. The whole layout just works really well and tends to give us some good racing too, and that's probably the most important thing. Since its debut on the calendar in 2012, 5 drivers have taken victory at the circuit, Lewis Hamilton taking his first of 5 wins at the track in 2012, and Max Verstappen last year took his second win in a row at the circuit, leading home Lewis Hamilton and the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. And Sebastian Vettel, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz have all taken pole position at least once over the years at COTA. That is a grand total of 6 drivers in 10 events. 6 drivers in 10 races, not bad. And yes, of course, 6 is also the number of dry tyre compounds available in the Pirelli range. Not that we ever see the C0, but oh yes, people, it is tyre talk time once again. The compounds available for this one then are in the middle of the range, and so they are the hard C2, the medium C3 and the soft C4. Now the forces at play this weekend are, according to Pirelli, mainly lateral, and there is a good balance between the front and the rear tyres, with no corner of the car taking significantly more stress than another. Traction is also a big factor though around this circuit, with a number of good corner exits critical. I'm looking at the exit of turn 11 onto the straight and the exits of 12 and 20 in particular, as well as turn 1 to be fair, especially in wheel-to-wheel combat. So although the forces may well be pretty even, the rears will need to be looked after because of those traction zones. Despite the grinding of the track a few years back and some of the resurfacing which took place ahead of last year's race, it's still a pretty bumpy circuit, with Pirelli explaining that can lead to tyres sliding slightly, which has the potential to cause some overheating. At the last 3 races held at the track, 2 stops has largely been the preferred race strategy, and given everything I've just said, I wouldn't at all be surprised to see a similar story on Sunday. Last year's winning strategy saw Max Verstappen run for 13 laps on the mediums before switching to the hards for his middle stint and then back to the mediums for the final stint on lap 35. And actually 15 of the drivers in total made 2 stops last season. Safety cars aren't massively common at the Circuit of the Americas, but they could influence strategy, of course. And last year, we saw 2 full safety car periods, including for a big collision between Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, a crash which I'm sure many of you will remember saw the Spaniard go airborne. And last year's fastest pit stop, by the way, was 2.13 seconds, carried out by Red Bull, with a total pit lane lost time across the field of largely between 23 and 26 seconds, and that's according to the FIA. Another thing that could affect race day strategy is the weather, which can be fairly changeable given the race is being held during the autumn. However, according to the forecast at time of recording, the whole weekend is expected to be warm and dry. So on Friday, temperatures are expected to hit 31 degrees for the start of practice and 35 degrees in time for qualifying. The sprint events on Saturday are forecast to stay dry with highs of 34 degrees in time for the sprint race. And on Sunday, the forecast says temperatures will hit 31 degrees in time for lights out, with once again a 0% chance of any rain falling. And that, as always, is how it stands as I sit here and record this on Wednesday afternoon, so plenty of time for that to change between now and the weekend. And your schedule for this one is a late one here in the UK, but I'm sure many of those of you from the States are very happy to have a race at a more sociable hour for a change. Me, I like the late and early races. But anyway, who cares? The one and only practice session will kick the weekend off on Friday at 6:30 p.m. BST, with qualifying for Sunday's race taking place later that night at 10 p.m. Saturday's F1 action starts with the sprint shootout qualifying thing at 6:30 p.m. and is followed by the sprint itself at 11 p.m. And it is lights out for the race on Sunday at 8 p.m. and once again, that is in UK time. Now, before I make my usual round of predictions, let's take a look at 3 stories I think are well worth a mention ahead of this weekend's action. First up, Haas will have a new look in Austin, and not just thanks to their special one-off livery. This weekend also sees the team's highly anticipated update package arrive, with the team confirming that almost the entire bodywork has been revised, including the floor, engine cover, side pod inlet, side pods, quarter panel, and padding gills. The aim of the upgrade is to improve the aerodynamic characteristics of the car, with the team looking for improved consistency as well as better aerodynamic delivery. The new spec will also provide the team with the data to inform the overall direction of the 2024 car. As for the livery, it sees the stars and stripes appearing on the car alongside the tagline, "We the People," as well as the bright yellow star of the Starlight Children's Foundation on the rear wing. It is also worth keeping an eye on Red Bull this weekend, as they will be running the second of their fan design liveries in Austin. Elsewhere, and in case you missed it since the last race, Lance Stroll has been handed a written warning from the FIA for his conduct in Qatar. That warning came after it was confirmed that the governing body's compliance officer had held discussions with Stroll over incidents that took place in Qatar, and it is understood they relate to his conduct after being eliminated from qualifying. The FIA explained that Stroll had communicated his regrets over the incident and the matter is now considered closed, with a statement from the FIA stating, quote, "The FIA compliance officer received an apology from Lance Stroll regarding his actions," and goes on to add that the compliance officer noted his apology and issued a written warning reminding Stroll of his responsibilities as a competitor bound by the FIA Code of Ethics. The statement ends by saying that, again, quote, "The FIA maintains a zero-tolerance stance against misconduct and condemns any actions that may lead to physical harassment." The sports governing body has also revealed that it will revisit the incident that saw Lewis Hamilton cross a live racetrack in Qatar to review whether future incidents of a similar nature should result in a harsher penalty. And finally, for this part, it has been confirmed that Daniel Ricciardo will be back behind the wheel for AlphaTauri this weekend. In his pre-weekend quotes, the Aussie says it is good to be back, his hand is much better, and the simulator work has been a useful way of assessing it. He also confirmed that he had tried it out the week before Qatar, but didn't feel after the simulator session that his hand was at its full potential, and so spent a bit more time recovering. To be fair, given how much many of the drivers struggled last time out, it was probably best he didn't risk a comeback at that point. Ricciardo also stated, by the way, that his overall fitness is fine because he spent a lot of time doing as much training as possible during his recovery. It is also worth a mention that on Tuesday evening, the team posted a thank you to Liam Lawson on their socials saying 5 races full of epic moments, thanks for the memories. And you know, although it was great to see Lawson get his chance and do so well, I am looking forward to seeing how Ricciardo gets on in these final 5 races of 2023 and the battle between him and Tsunoda next season. Potentially a hell of a lot riding on that one. Right then, time for me to make some predictions, and as always, please do not take these too seriously, just a little bit of fun, but if you do disagree with my picks, then you can let me know yours in the comments section down below. And my last lot were, well, not great. I was right on Verstappen for the race win, but wrong on basically everything else except finishes, so let's just move on. For this one, no great surprises. Red Bull will be the favourites as they have been all season, and so it's hard not to be looking at Max Verstappen for the win on Sunday. However, McLaren should go well here, and I expect them to be the closest challengers to Verstappen this weekend. After all, they were so strong in Qatar and Suzuka, and this track features some similar characteristics to the Japanese circuit in particular, such as that first sector, for example. The big issue for McLaren could be those 2 long DRS straights, which could help give Red Bull even more of an edge. And who knows which version of Ferrari and Mercedes will turn up in Austin. Could they be right up there as well? We shall see. But I do think this one will be between Red Bull and McLaren, with, as I say, Verstappen as the favourite. However, as I've said before, picking Max every week gets a bit dull and makes his predictions pointless, frankly. So I'm going to say this is the weekend Lando Norris gets his first F1 win. After all, for the team as a whole, it's felt like it's been coming for a while now, and I think they will win one of the remaining 5, so why not here? I'll give him pole position as well, because again, he's been close a few times lately and errors have cost him. I'll give Verstappen something though and go with the sprint win. So Norris for pole in the race win, Verstappen P1 in the shootout and victory in the sprint, and a very close second on Sunday, with Oscar Piastri taking the final step on the podium in Sunday's race. As for top of the midfield, which is whoever finishes first behind Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin and McLaren, this week I've gone with Alpine. Sure, the long straights could hurt them, but they went well here last year and were pretty quick in Suzuka and Qatar, to be fair. But I don't think Williams will be all that far off either, so that could be a fun battle. And also, it's going to be really interesting to see how well Haas go given their new update. Lots to keep an eye on throughout the field once again. On that note, for a couple of bolder picks, I'm going to say that one of the Haas cars gets through to Q3, which isn't all that bold. I've done it a few times this year, but it's still nice to give them some positivity. And I'm also going to say, for what feels like the millionth time this season, that's obviously an exaggeration, Logan Sargent will get his first F1 points at some stage this weekend, so either in the race or in the sprint. And let's be honest, he could really do with them. And if not points, he needs an incident-free home Grand Prix weekend and actually an incident-free end to the season. That is it for the US Grand Prix preview then, but don't forget you can let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comments section down below. And if you don't fancy that, then how about leaving me a flag emoji to let me know who you're supporting this weekend for, as City Planner Plays would say, the sake of engagement. A little insight there into what I spend my spare time watching on YouTube. Now, I will be back soon with some more content, including the race reaction stream on Sunday night. There won't be a Saturday waffle, by the way, because my other half has to be up really early on Sunday, and I don't think streaming at 1 AM is going to go down very well. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help the channel out, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.